Picture this: January 31st, 2004, Las Vegas, a packed UFC arena. Vitor Belfort, the Brazilian phenom, has just knocked out Randy Couture to win the light heavyweight title, one of the greatest victories in Brazilian MMA history. The crowd roars, the lights flash, the world celebrates. But inside the cage, Vitor breaks down in tears, not from joy, from pain. He looks into the camera and dedicates the win to his sister, Priscila Belfort, who had vanished exactly 22 days earlier, in broad daylight, in downtown Rio de Janeiro. A 29-year-old woman, a public employee, steps out from work to have lunch and disappears forever. No body, no ransom, no answers. More than 22 years later, in 2026, the case is still open. False confessions, leads that go nowhere, suspicions tied to drug trafficking, a clandestine abortion. What really happened to Priscila Belfort? Stay until the end because this story will keep you up at night. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any videos. Every single day, there's a new true story here. Disappearances, unsolved crimes, and bizarre cases the media forgot, but that still deserve to be told. Scroll down to the comments and tell me, what do you think really happened to Priscila? Kidnapping? Running away? Something worse? Or do you believe she could still be found alive one day? Drop your theory, your opinion, and let me know if you already knew about the case. I read every comment and reply as much as I can. Priscila Vieira Belfort was born on December 5, 1974, in Rio de Janeiro. She was the older sister of MMA fighter Vitor Belfort, one of Brazil's most famous athletes at the time. Priscila was described as outgoing and well-liked by friends and neighbors throughout her childhood and teenage years. At 16, she was diagnosed with depression, which made her more withdrawn over the course of her life. She attended university, lived in New York for a period where she experienced episodes of depression, and worked as a civil servant at Rio de Janeiro's Municipal Department of Sports and Leisure in the city centre. On Friday, January 9, 2004, Priscila woke up feeling unwell, with cramps and nausea. Her mother, Jovita Belfort, insisted that she not miss work and even offered to drive her from Barra da Tijuca to Avenida Presidente Vargas. Priscila arrived at the office around 11 a.m., made a few calls, and around noon left to have lunch with her boyfriend. She informed co-workers and was last seen by a building employee. Priscila had very little cash, no bank cards, and her phone was out of battery. She never made it to the meeting place with her boyfriend, nor did she return home. That night, her boyfriend told the family that Priscila had not shown up. Vitor Belfort filed a missing person report at the 14th Police Precinct, Leblon. Jovita's birthday party, scheduled for the next day, was cancelled. The family began to panic, never imagining that this would be the beginning of a mystery that has lasted for more than 20 years. In the days following the disappearance, the Belfort family and their friends mobilized intensely. On Saturday, January 10th, they took turns searching the streets of Rio de Janeiro. On Sunday, January 11th, the case gained nationwide attention on the TV show Domingo Legal, SBT. Vitor Belfort's notoriety, newly married to Joana Prado, feiticeira, helped the news spread quickly. Police initially considered the possibility of a kidnapping for ransom scheme, which was common in Rio at the time, and the case was transferred to the anti-kidnapping unit. The family received fake ransom calls traced to prisons, prank calls from criminals taking advantage of the family's fame. In January, friends and celebrities such as Bernardinho and Eri Johnson joined a public rally wearing "Come Back Priscila" t-shirts. Disque Denuncia offered a 5,000 reais reward for information, the first reward ever offered for a missing person case in Rio de Janeiro. On January 31st, just 22 days after she vanished, Vitor won the UFC title in Las Vegas against Randy Couture. He cried inside the octagon, dedicating the victory to his sister. Searches expanded to other states, but no leads emerged. The family asked the public to stop sending false tips. There was never a real ransom demand, which weakened the theory of a typical kidnapping for ransom case. The police investigation faced major difficulties. There was no clear line to follow: kidnapping, a voluntary disappearance, a mental health crisis linked to Priscilla's depression. The family ruled out the idea that she ran away, arguing that she was an adult and financially independent. In 2007, the TV program Linha Direta recreated the case. In audio with his voice disguised, Priscilla's boyfriend suggested that she might have disappeared of her own free will, something the family vehemently rejected. After that, he never maintained close contact with the Belforts again. Shortly afterward, in August 2007, Elaine Paiva da Silva turned herself in to the public prosecutor's office, claiming she was being threatened. She confessed to taking part in a kidnapping. Priscilla was supposedly abducted over a 9,000 real debt tied to drug trafficking, raped, killed, dismembered, and burned. Elaine pointed investigators to a rural property in São Gonçalo, where she said the remains were, but excavations found nothing. Her confession was deemed false. Elaine was said to suffer psychotic episodes and to have had a personal interest in the lead detective. Other alleged leads, such as bones found in Guanabara Bay or in Buzios, were ruled out through DNA testing. Several theories emerged: involvement with drug trafficking, denied by the family, memory lapses leading to disorientation, or even a clandestine abortion because of the nausea on the day she vanished. None were ever proven. Years later, new suspects linked to drug trafficking emerged. Names such as Jarinho, a trafficker killed in a police operation, were mentioned in statements from hostages, who said they had heard references to Priscilla. In 2013, arrests were made. Leandro Ferreira Fernandes and Leonardo Luiz Batista were detained on suspicion of involvement in her kidnapping and murder. Other suspects surfaced as well, but there was no concrete evidence. Police pursued the homicide theory, but without a body or a valid confession, the case stalled. The statute of limitations expired in 2024, 20 years for serious crimes, though a missing person case does not automatically close the investigation. For the family, the suffering is constant. Jovita Belfort turned her pain into activism by creating Alerta Pri, a rapid alert initiative for missing persons. Vitor converted to Christianity, attributing part of that transformation to the tragedy. Joana Prado said she had lost her husband to the grief. Priscilla's mother speaks of an endless mourning. Death is part of life, disappearance isn't. In September 2024, Disney Plus released the 4-episode documentary series Volta Priscilla, directed by Eduardo Rajabali. The production featured previously unseen footage and interviews with family members, journalists who covered the case, and police officers involved in the investigation. The series reignited public interest, questioned shortcomings in the early stages of the inquiry, and explored the main theories without naming suspects. Prosecutor André Luiz Cardozo, interviewed for the documentary, said that new investigative steps were underway and that thoughtful new things were coming to light. In 2026, more than 22 years after her disappearance, Priscilla Belfort remains one of Brazil's best-known missing persons. There is no body, no definitive convictions, no answers. The family has held two positions at once. Jovita still clings to a small hope that her daughter is alive somewhere, perhaps with amnesia or living a different life, while Vitor, more realistic, speaks of honoring his sister's memory by living with purpose. Priscilla's case has highlighted the anguish faced by thousands of Brazilian families living with the same uncertainty. Estimates suggest that more than 60,000 people disappear every year in Brazil, many of whom are never found. Alerta Pri, along with other initiatives inspired by the case, helped push for faster search protocols in the first few days, an especially critical window for locating missing people. Newspapers and TV programs still revisit the case on significant anniversaries. Jovita Belfort's words capture the enduring feeling. Someone, somewhere, knows what happened to my daughter. Until that person speaks, or definitive evidence emerges, the mystery of Priscilla Belfort will remain one of the saddest and most haunting chapters in Brazil's true crime history. The family continues to ask that any information, no matter how small, be reported to the authorities. Hope, however fragile, has not disappeared completely. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any videos. Every single day, there's a new true story here. Disappearances, unsolved crimes, and bizarre cases the media forgot, but that still deserve to be told. Scroll down to the comments and tell me, what do you think really happened to Priscilla? Kidnapping? Running away? Something worse? Or do you believe she could still be found alive one day? Drop your theory, your opinion, and let me know if you already knew about the case. I read every comment and reply as much as I can.